This is not about winning. There's an ancient battle going on, but it's not about winning. It's about triumph, friends. Winning is the battle that happens on the same level, right? What we're talking about is triumph. We rise up here. The walls of this prison system, this digital prison system, they truly are closing in, folks. We are in what I call the final countdown now, the final showdown. We're in the last few minutes of this insane theater, if you will. And I've been in this field for going on 24 years, speaking publicly about all things that consider the taking away of our freedom, our sovereignty. And one thing that I've learned in those 24 years is that most people try to approach the solution from the same perspective as the problem was created. What is the problem? Folks, we're 2 minutes away, and in some countries, in some places in the world, we're far beyond that point, where absolute digital control is in place for every single person, to the point where many services are not accessible any longer without a digital ID or some sort of digital verification. And this is now coming to every place on earth at lightning speed. It's insanity. However, we cannot, and please hear me here, we cannot solve this problem from a purely physical perspective. Meaning that if we only try to say no, which is so important, but try to say no and try to prevent these things from happening in our physical reality, I don't see much success there, because too many people were asleep for too long. They had no idea what was going on. This entire $1 trillion infrastructure was built out. The legislation, everything that needed to happen, it was built out, and it's now ready to go. So on that level, it's almost, I'll never say impossible, but it's almost impossible to stop it at this point. But we have a whole different perspective that most are missing, that is more important than anything else. We are not these freaking bodies. You are not a body. You're not a mind. You're not John Smith or Jane Doe, whatever your name is. You're not that. That is a fraction of who you truly are. What you really are at the fundamental level is consciousness. Consciousness, that is the fabric, if you will, that binds everything together. And so before humans realize that they are truly not humans, that is just a small fraction of our expression, but that we are actual infinite consciousness, an expression of that, we will operate almost always from fear. And any decision that is made from fear simply leads to more of the same. So what are people afraid of, and why do they comply with a system that fundamentally enslaves them and has been enslaving them? It's really easy, because they're afraid of dying. They're afraid that if they won't, they will have disadvantages that will lead to death eventually. Everything stems from that fear of death. So in order to approach this most critical point in our human history, to approach it with strength, with true strength, the strength of a spiritual warrior, we must first feel on every level who we really are. We must first connect with that highest part of ourselves, because that highest part does not fear anything, because it cannot be destroyed. It cannot be touched. It is infinite. So when that highest part is part of your experience again, you begin embodying it. You lose your fear of dying. And once you lose your fear of dying, you become virtually uncontrollable, and you will never go against something that limits your freedom, limits your sovereignty, that limits who you are. You simply won't. You will not comply with your own enslavement. You will not acquiesce to insane psychopaths who want to impose their will on you or force you to comply. That simply isn't part of the equation. And so throughout these 24 years now, my message and our message has been, know thyself. Because if you know who you are, none of this can touch you. You can't possibly be part of a a grid and enslavement system if you know who you are, and then you also will never accept it, and that will give you the strength and the wherewithal and the creativity that you need, that we all need, because from that higher consciousness level, nothing is impossible. All possibilities are pretty much equal. So the strongest intention, the strongest vision, the strongest imagination, if you will, then starts to bring about that version of reality. Right now, the majority is still bound for dystopia, a technocratic dystopia. And just pick any freaking Hollywood movie of the last 15 years that showed some version of the future, and pick whatever you want. It's going to be some version of that. Whether that's Minority Report or whether that's any other movie, it shows fundamental total control over our thoughts, over our biological processes, over our decisions, and it shows, AI, digital, and even biological enforcement, meaning that, you can just be turned off, and those capabilities already exist. However, once again, they're tied to our physical being, they're tied to our body. They cannot touch our consciousness if we don't allow it to. And compared to the infinite power of our consciousness, all of this is small. All of this is just peanuts. So this sounds like woo-woo out there, or something that's unattainable, but it's truly not. You focus at least 10-15 minutes of your day on just conscious breathing, closing your eyes, tuning within, and just expanding your awareness. It's such a simple practice. You can do this. And if you've never meditated, never done deep conscious prayer, these things will come to you. And once you experience yourself fully, you live life from a different perspective. So the solution to these incredibly insane things that we're facing will not come from new legislation, different policies. Those things might be a result of the solution. They might be at the end of that chain, but not at the beginning. At the beginning, there must be an awareness shift that we can no longer identify with our human form, with our human name, with our human titles, with our human roles. But we have to step into the infinite awareness, the infinite potential that we truly are, and look at everything from that perspective. Because when we do, we become invincible. We become unconquerable. We become unstoppable. We become uncontrollable. And that's what these psychopaths that are so inverted, that's what they fear the most. That's why they want to distract you. That's why they want to put as much entertainment out there as they can. They want to control every media outlet and alternative media outlet, because they know you can know about the conspiracies. You can know about who's doing what. As long as you get angry, as long as we stay divided, as long as we hate each other or hate something, we're still under their thumb. They can still control us, because those are the frequencies that they know how to deal with. But the frequencies of creation, of love, of bliss, of infinite, of infinity, they don't know these frequencies. They don't know how to do that. They don't know how to operate there. They can't reach that. And so that's what we must, rise to. That's what rising to the occasion, by the way, really means. It's rising to the occasion. And here I want to end this with quoting my dear brother and friend Greg Braden, who so beautifully says, this is not about winning. There's an ancient battle going on, but it's not about winning. It's about triumph, friends. Winning is the battle that happens on the same level, right? What we're talking about is triumph. We rise up here, and there's not even a question how this ends. Triumph. But we must first know ourselves. So friends, know yourself, know thyself, get to know you. You will never be fearful again. You will never say yes when you mean no. You will never comply with your own enslavement, and you will not acquiesce to complete psychopaths and bullies. That's it. This is how we do this. All right, much love. We'll talk to you soon. Your environment shapes everything, your thoughts, your health, your energy.
But most people never question the invisible field they live in. We did, and that's when FLFE found us. It's not a product, it's a field of pure life force energy that lifts everything it touches. We now live in it 24/7, and we would love to invite you to experience it too. Start your free 15-day trial now. No pressure, no strings attached. Just the truth, resonance, and peace.